This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Reed Gregory.
And I'm Zoe Jones. The University of North Dakota sent out an emergency message early this morning after they received reports of a man walking around campus with a gun.
We went to Grand Forks this afternoon to see what students had to say. It was near here at the Alpha Tau Omega House on UND's campus where university police say this suspect was seen brandishing a firearm and threatening others. Madeline Archibald is a student at the university and recounts her thoughts receiving the message.
We got this text message that from the campus, that there was an incident at one of the fraternities and somebody had pulled up a gun.
Campus sending out this emergency message, giving a suspect description and telling students not to approach. For Madeline, she says she acted accordingly.
We were just sitting there, so we got up, locked the doors, locked the windows, closed the blinds. Yeah, it was a little concerning.
University police issuing a statement Sunday afternoon saying during the investigation, UPD recovered a replica pistol, which is most likely what the suspect was brandishing. For Madeline, she believes the campus is still safe.
There's security on campus and they're aware of what's going on, so I think it'll be okay.
Now, we've also reached out to the campus police department for a comment, but we haven't heard back at this time.
Well, we've got a holiday coming up this week. Let's check in with First Alert Storm Team's Shelby Bertowski to see how current conditions are looking. Shelby.
Well, Zoe and Reed, right now things are still on the chillier side. We're also having some breezier winds down at the Dakota Magic Skycam Casino. But here in Fargo, our winds are out of the west at 14 miles an hour. Feels like 14 degrees with that wind chill, with our air temperature here in town sitting at 26 degrees. But we also have other areas like Thief River Falls sitting at 15 degrees for their air temperature, 16 in Hallock, 18 in Langdon. But we also have some wind chill index, already having some areas like Thief River, Hallock, and Langdon feeling like single digits at 4 and 6 degrees, and even 7 degrees over in Bemidji. It feels like 10 in Grand Forks because we're still having some breezier winds. Now, right now, we are seeing those winds slightly calmer. We did have some gusts earlier today, gusting up to 25 miles an hour, still with some wind out of the west at 17 miles an hour in Devil's Lake, still with some scattered clouds and some snow down at the Dakota Magic Skycam just in South Dakota. But guys, we have some more snow coming up tomorrow, and I'll have that forecast for you in a bit.
All right, thanks, Shelby. Fargo firefighters responded to a report of a fire at Sanford Broadway Medical Center around 6:15 this morning. Officials say the initial dispatch was for an activated alarm that was upgraded to a structure fire after reports of smoke was in the building. When crews arrived, they found a small fire in an ultrasound machine and they extinguished it. The building's fire sprinkler system had contained the fire to the machine and there was no other fire damage.
Due to a significant amount of smoke, Sanford staff were about to evacuate the building, but then stopped once they realized the fire was contained. No people were in the wing when the fire occurred, and there were no patients affected, as well as no injuries. The cause of the fire currently remains under investigation. And the North Dakota Highway Patrol are investigating a crash that occurred early this morning in Trail County. Officials say early Sunday morning at 4:15 a.m. a Chevrolet Impala was southbound on I-29 when the driver lost control of the vehicle. The vehicle left the roadway, entering the median, tipped and overturned.
The driver, 19-year-old William Cummings of Fargo, was cited for minor in consumption and care was required. All occupants remained in the vehicle as it overturned. There were 2 other occupants, 20-year-old passengers in the vehicle. One went to the hospital for his injuries and the other had no injuries.
And a Fargo man has been arrested for terrorizing. Jeremy Michael Anderson was charged on Friday, October 27th, for terrorizing an adult victim with a dangerous weapon on October 26th.
His arraignment is scheduled for tomorrow, Monday, October 30th at 1:30 p.m. at the Cass County Courthouse.
Well, one mother from Wheaton, Minnesota has an interesting story to share after she gave birth to her daughter yesterday morning on the side of I-29.
We spoke to the mother and the father about the experience, and we checked in on how they're doing today.
What are the chances, I would go into actual labor the day or the night before I'm supposed to have my induction?
Michaela and Scott Hagan thought the chances of going into labor before their scheduled induction were crazy, but their birth story gets even crazier than that.
We were driving and I kept feeling like I was going to have to push soon, and finally I just told them, I said, she's coming.
The pair then got out of the truck on I-29 about 30 minutes outside of Fargo. Michaela pushed and Scott caught the baby. And that's the story of how their little girl, Elora Donna, came into the world. Then they had to wait for EMS to arrive.
They showed up about a half hour later, and then we were there for probably another half hour, and then finally we came to Fargo.
The baby was born with a slight case of hypothermia due to the weather conditions, but mom and dad say she's been doing fine since arriving to the hospital. The pair says they're glad they were somewhat experienced in the parental department because they were able to handle the situation as best as they could.
Thank goodness it was our third, because I don't think we wouldn't have had any clue what to do if it was our first.
Well, the couple says the baby girl is doing well and they're excited to go home.
Switching gears, 29-year-old Minnesota native and American hockey player Adam Johnson has died after what many are calling a freak accident during a game in England on Saturday. He was playing for the Nottingham Panthers in a Challenge Cup game against the Sheffield Steelers when he suffered from a slashed neck during the second period of the game.
Johnson played college hockey at Minnesota Duluth, helping the Bulldogs reach 2 NCAA tournaments. He scored an overtime game winner in the 2017 tournament, sending Minnesota Duluth to the Frozen Four and beating Boston University. UMD hockey took to social media today to remember him. And 2 people are dead and 18 others hurt in a shooting between 2 groups on a busy stretch of Ybor City on Halloween weekend. That's according to Tampa's police chief.
A 22-year-old was arrested in connection to the deadly shooting. Tyrell Phillips has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder with a firearm after a 14-year-old and 20-year-old were killed and 16 others were hurt. The chief announced during an update this afternoon that out of the people that were hurt, 15 were shot and 1 other was seriously injured.
Many of the additional victims, who ranged in ages from 18 to 27 years old, have been medically treated and released from the hospital. Police said 5 currently remain in the hospital and are recovering from their injuries.
What we know at this point, this is a very complicated scene. What we know at this point is it was a disturbance or a fight between 2 groups. And in this fight between 2 groups, we had hundreds of innocent people involved that were in the way. And unfortunately, as a result of that, we've had 2 that have passed away and 18 in the hospital with injuries.
Well, since October 7th, Israeli strikes on Gaza have resulted in 7,950 fatalities. The Palestinian Ministry of Health said that today. More than 20,000 people have been injured, according to the ministry. Nearly 3/4, 73% of those killed are from vulnerable populations, including children, women, and elderly individuals.
The ministry added that the total number of dead includes 116 medical personnel. Additionally, 24 hospitals, which together can have a capacity of up to 2,000 beds, have been instructed to evacuate in the northern part of Gaza.
Well, for a lot of people, yesterday was the first day out of the house since the shootings happened in Maine. Police continue to process scenes at the bowling alley and at the bar.
Brandon Truitt tells us more as people in the community come together for the first time to heal.
At the scenes of such horror and evil come signs of hope, resilience, and faith. 18 crosses for 18 lives placed at the bowling alley and the bar. Bree Allard is a teacher in Lewiston and made the memorials.
I said to my kids, let's make some posters for the victims, and I kept the list going. One of the signs there has all the names of the victims, and I kept adding to it as we found out more information.
One town over in Lisbon, hundreds coming together for a vigil Saturday night. They hugged and lit candles and prayed. The grief is just setting in.
It's hard. A lot of people on Facebook are saying how hard it is.
My daughter's 10 and she was very, very scared. She didn't want to come out of her room. She was staying away from windows. So yeah, basically just a giant sigh of relief.
As the community mourns, investigators providing updates on how they found the suspect's body. He was here in the back of a trailer at the Maine Recycling Corporation in Lisbon, about a mile from where he ditched his car the night of the shootings. Card used to work here. State officials say they found him with 2 firearms. CBS News reporting he shot himself in the head. This area was cleared by investigators twice, but they didn't search the property across the street. The state questioned on how they missed it.
I will, for the rest of my life be looking at this event and saying, could we done this different? Could we do that different?
Investigators took in more than 800 tips. At least 3 of them came from the suspect's family. They were the first to call and identify him. A dozen search warrants were completed, one leading to a note in the suspect's home left for his son, containing Card's cell phone password and banking information.
I wouldn't describe it as a explicit suicide note, but the tone and tenor was that the individual was not going to be around.
While details trickle in, a wave of grief is consuming people here, hoping they can build back their community while remembering those they've lost.
Maybe immediately you kind of feel a sense of relief, but there is still great sadness, about the whole situation.
18 individuals died in those shootings. An additional 13 were injured, some of them still in the hospital. The gunman, Robert Card, was found dead Friday night.
Well, Matthew Perry fans are paying tribute to the actor by leaving flowers near the apartment building featured on the sitcom Friends. Perry died of an apparent drowning at his home just yesterday. He was best known for his role as Chandler Bing again on the 90s sitcom Friends.
According to law enforcement, there was no indication of foul play and no confirmed cause of death as of yet. Fans say they're shocked and saddened by the news of his passing.
And so young. I mean, 54, we're in our 70s, so when you're 54, it's so young. So we just look at it as such a tragedy. He had so much more to give and so much more life to live, and he's been through a lot, and it's just sad. It's very sad.
There's still a lot of unknowns regarding the star's death. Stars have also been taking to social media to pay tributes to the actor as well. Later on Valley News Live at 10, retailers say theft is exploding in their industry. We'll tell you the details in just a few minutes.
And we have some more chances of some snow. This is going to be some light snow tomorrow, but some areas in Lake of the Woods can see up to an inch in that snowfall tomorrow. And looking ahead to your Halloween for your candy forecast, we are going to have temperatures in those 30s, still some breezier winds, but don't go anywhere because I'll have your forecast for you coming up next.
Getting scammed? Call the Whistleblower Hotline.